Welcome to the third episode of our Transformative Talks video series, where we meet with senior executives in financial services to talk to them about their transformational journeys. I'm Paul Gallucci, Senior Vice President with CGI and Banking, Insurance, and Payments, and joined today by a good friend and senior executive from Bank of Montreal, their U.S. CTOO, Victor Tung.
Pleasure to be here, Paul. Look at us, hey, we're on camera in a video. I still remember when we first met all those years ago, we were all both kind of finding our way through Bay Street, and here we're being videotaped.
Here we are today. I love it. We've been involved in a number of different transformations together over the years, but I know your latest is called Digital First. Tell us about your Digital First transformation.
Great question. Digital First is really kind of anchored as a big part of our strategy, right? Like our purpose, right? To boldly grow the good in business and in life, right? And there's really three aspects to it. You kind of think about it. There's our shareholders, there's our employees, and then there's communities, right? And digital is just a new approach to actually tackling things, and it's really keeping up with the times.
Fantastic. When you think about digital first and that drive to really start with digital, what are the objectives and how do you know when you're done?
Well, it's actually the interesting thing is I would anchor back is to answer your first questions, like why are we really doing this, right? Why we're doing this is when we step back, the external environment's changing. The consumption patterns of our clients, our customers are changing. The way our employees are interacting is changing and how we actually work. So it's actually a big mindset change. And the truth is there's actually no end to this journey. It's actually a continuous transformation, right? It's that's why I always kind of anchor it in the mindset. It's really getting digitally. If the way we interact and do things, it's going to be completely different going forward.
Yeah, and we even see that with our members. Members is what we call our employees at CGI. We see that with our members looking for that digital first experience in what they do, and our clients engaging and interacting with our clients in a very similar way. As a result of digital first, I can imagine that you've had to transform the operations that support the work that you're doing at the bank. We started, one of the first initiatives that we worked on was really the migration or the development of a agile and DevOps framework for the bank. How does that factor into the work that you're doing?
It comes back to speed and a new way of actually doing execution that gets us to the end results faster and better. But is it easy? Absolutely not, right? We remember through the whole process we're going through, it's actually a big learning process, but it's a necessary step that we all actually have to go in. And I was really glad that we got to work on that together because kind of we look back at the employee base, we looked at everybody who was involved, they're actually equipped with the new tools that are set for the future. And a lot of the investment and the time that we spent back then are paying off dividends. Like we can do more releases now. We are able to provide a platform in which people want to work. Right. One of the things you and I do quite a bit is we actually go out and do a lot of recruitment, in schools. Kids, everybody that works for us, they're in some manner. Their fathers, their mothers, their aunts, their uncles. The next generation of workers, they need to work in an environment where it's agile, it's DevOps. Yeah. So if you're not setting that up, it's going to be really hard.
So over the last 2 years, attracting and retaining talent has been sometimes been a challenge. There's definitely been a focus. At CGI, we've really focused on developing a culture to engage our employees and ensure that there's a lot of transparent discussion with them, really giving them career opportunities and opportunities for growth to ensure that we can get the talent that we need to serve our clients the way that they deserve to be served. How have you felt the technology environment's been for you attracting talent? Has that been a challenge? And what does BMO do to differentiate in that space?
I would say it was a challenge, and it was a bit of a learning process. I think the inflection point was when COVID actually hurt. Like we were heading down a path, but as an organization, we're pretty agile and we pivoted pretty fast. Like when everybody shifted to a work at home model, even when we said we were operating in a hybrid model, the the operation and execution muscle of an organization wasn't really set up for that.
Right.
But COVID actually really accelerated that, and then that really opened things up because people were really learning how to interact and work in a virtual environment. And then that got us thinking and how we kind of open up and looking at recruitment. We operate, quite heavily in the U.S. and in Canada.
Sure.
We're North American, franchise here, and so we started expanding beyond our like existing hubs, being Montreal, Toronto, New York, Chicago, and looking at the rest of the states. And then we had a hub location strategy. So we went to some of these other areas, such as Charlotte, Jacksonville. We're setting up site, and those are where you got touchdown spots where people actually come in.
Right.
Like we're quite thoughtful around, hey, this is kind of where the talent base was kind of migrating to. But we also didn't limit ourselves that we're not looking broader as well too, because the game we're actually in, it's all about talent.
For sure.
And you got to go where you got the right abundance of talent for the right price point, and so you could extract shareholder value. And I think BMO overall, when we say our digital first approach, our platform makes a really, really great proposition, because people want to come work on this platform because they're fun.
Right.
We're engaging. We build all the tools, the platforms, the cool things that people want to work on.
We find the same thing, and I think that's a really interesting point. It's not just about providing an environment that people want to work in, not just fostering that culture, but it's also about giving them cool things to do.
Yeah.
Right? And the more innovative you are in the work that you're doing inside the organization, the easier it is to attract and retain that talent. I think it's also interesting that you point out sort of the diversity across in which you're hiring today, because we've seen the same thing. Going to a work from home model has enabled us to really flex our muscle in nearshore and offshore centers of excellence. So we've been able to find that talent outside of some of the hotspots, right, and provide that to our partners like you. Speaking of diversity, we all know that diversity is sort of key to our success, and that's diversity in thought, diversity in background, ethnicity, and inclusion for our members and our communities. You've always been known as I've always known you anyway, as a proponent for diversity inside Bank of Montreal and in the communities in which we live. How has that factored into your digital first strategy?
I think it's the discussion would have it. It's not an either or. I think it's a recognition and understanding it's doing both. And they actually complement each other very well. Like, I think a key word you said was diversity in thought, right? That is very important, because
Right.
you miss out on a lot of the different segments and understanding and needs. When I first started this conversation, we're talking about our shareholders, our customers, our employees, right? There's diversity in all three. And if you're
Absolutely.
not understanding how they relate in each of those segments and their environments, you're kind of missing out on a lot of value that you're not doing. And it's a big part of our purpose. It's core to our values, our culture as a bank, and we take this very seriously. So it's not a you need to do, it's a must do, but we're doing it with purpose, with the right rationale.
Yeah, for sure. And I understand you're on the board of directors for Skills for Change, along with some of the other leaders inside CGI. Can you share a little bit more about that and what it means to you?
Well, thanks for that question. It's a great passion of mine, and that charitable organization has just celebrated 30 years.
Wow.
Founded in 1982. The real purpose is really to help new immigrants coming in and providing them the bridging, the education, the certification, and helping them get placed in part of the, I said, the overall job market within Canada, which is all positive, because everybody's coming here. They want to have a career, right? They want to realize their dreams. And I think it's one of those organizations that really resonated with myself. And I just thought it was great. And 30 years, and we help 16,000 clients a year that come in, and we're making a difference.
It's an incredible organization, and has really been helpful for us, even in our partnership. A lot of the new talent that we've been able to bring has come through Skills for Change, and it's incredible to be able to give people opportunities to really shine when they come. So thanks for the
But
work
it's
that
a
you're
but
doing
it's a
there.
two-way street, right? It's a very interesting thing because we're all shopping for talent as well, and if we're not tackling and actually engaging in that type of conversation and approaching that, like it's a whole pool of talent
Yeah.
and resources you're untapped, right? But you're solving for two key things, for us to, responsible shareholders and drive the business forward, but also, helping people at the same time.
Yeah, and it's been pretty incredible. We just went through our performance evaluations, and some of the folks that are sort of top of the list or shining through came from these organizations, and it's a great pool for us for sure. Amazing. So staying on the topic of people, let's shift to client. We've partnered, CGI has been a partner of Bank of Montreal's for over 40 years, and we've helped in a number of different initiatives. And one of the areas that we're really focused right now is driving that client experience center of excellence for the bank. How does that factor in, and why is client experience so important in this digital first journey?
Oh, well, everything we kind of come back to has to start with the client in mind, the customer in mind. Like when you're building something, it could come through a technology platform we're building, a business process, a new product. It has to add value for the client. It has to be meaningful to clients. So the approach of shifting and looking at it from a client lens is really, really, really important. And we've been doing that together for a couple of years, but there's a deep-rooted history that even goes, even beyond when you and I tenure
Right.
together between us and the bank. And I would say it was pretty a bleeding edge approach from way back then. Like you think about when we co-built the trade finance platform,
Right.
that all those years ago, right? And it's still in use. And I don't know what version we're on, but I know we just recently did an upgrade.
I can
last
tell you
year
it's
on
not the
that.
same technology it was 40 years ago, but yeah.
But think through was the approach, right? Us coming together, trying to understand a client, a business need, co-creating it
Right.
together. So you actually build a platform that actually really satisfies, what the requirements are, but also gives a great experience. When you do that, that's when you get great solutions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've really seen a shift in the marketplace from requirements defined in-house to really working with our clients to understand, and whether those be our technology clients or your clients on the street, to really understand their needs and putting them first before we get to requirements, design, development of solutions. So as we sit here on November 24th, there's a lot of concern about the economy and where it's headed. I'd be remiss not to ask you your thoughts on how do you think this is impacting the bank and your strategy on digital first?
Well, great question, Paul. I kind of have to anchor back on, look back, we're a 200 plus year organization. We have a lot of experiences. We navigated through a lot of different storms, and I think we actually have a great platform, great practice in place. And banking is it is a very complex business. It's a team sport that kind of brings together all different disciplines. But I think we have a great team and great, I would say, approach to navigating through this. I would say times when when things get a little tighter in the market, you could view it as a bit of opportunity, because it actually allows you to re-anchor and really prioritize, understand what's really, really important. And then you actually direct more focus towards those areas. So you actually get to kind of probably outcomes actually faster,
Right.
I would say, which is I'd say it's a pretty good approach to it. And I would say it's got to be positive, man. Like it's
That's the only way to be
Yeah.
right now. But I will say that I think the Digital First initiative allows you, and it's clear that you're resetting to look at some of the challenges that the economic environment may put on your clients, and you're reacting to those to make sure that you're aligning to your goal of doing good in business and in life.
Yeah.
Right.
So the good thing about a strategy is it's not supposed to change that much. But if something is being impacted, then it probably isn't really a strategy.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
which is a great thing.
Absolutely. So finally, what's your advice to partners like CGI or others out there as we look at continuing to grow our partnership together? What advice would you give to us on how to be better partners with you?
It's I would say it comes back to the notion of partnership, co-creation, being in there in terms of shifting left and understanding the client, the customer needs, and then working with us to solve those problems together. If we operate in a model where I'm just call up, hey Paul, I need some help. Can you get me 20 people? That doesn't really move the agenda to forward. Like it solves for some execution needs,
Right.
but it doesn't help us kind of derive the outcomes where we're most valuable. Because when we're really partnering and you feel as much ownership of it as I do to the clients, we actually really solve for, and we have a lot cover off a lot more points that we might have missed if we were doing it independently.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're all trying to move the needle to be more outcomes focused. As a partner, you get the best of us when we are focused on outcomes instead of inputs. I couldn't agree more. Thanks so much, Victor. That was truly amazing. We really value the partnership with you and Bank of Montreal. Appreciate you taking the time today to meet with us and look forward to continuing to expand our partnership into the future.
All right, excellent.